The reign of King Solomon, the third king of the United Kingdom of Israel, is often remembered as a golden age, a time of immense wealth, power, and wisdom. As the son of the legendary King David, Solomon ascended to the throne as a young man, inheriting a kingdom that stretched from the Nile to the Euphrates. With the blessing of God, he established Israel as a regional superpower, amassing untold riches and prestige. His famous wisdom, as exemplified by his ability to settle disputes and rule justly, became the stuff of legend. The Queen of Sheba is said to have traveled from afar just to test the extent of Solomon's sagacity. Under his leadership, the temple in Jerusalem was constructed, a marvel of architecture that would become the spiritual heart of the Israelite faith. Solomon's wealth allowed him to build a lavish palace, cultivate an extensive harem, and cement Israel's status as a major commercial hub, with trade routes stretching as far as India. Yet, for all his accomplishments, Solomon's later years would be marked by tragedy and decline. The harmonious kingdom he had inherited would ultimately crumble, riven by internal strife and the consequences of his own hubris and excess. In the end, the wisest man in the Bible would see his legacy tarnished, his kingdom divided, and his people oppressed. The seeds of Solomon's downfall were sown early in his reign. Despite his God-given wisdom, the king fell prey to the temptations of power and wealth. He amassed a vast harem of foreign wives, some 700 strong, who gradually turned his heart away from the one true God of Israel. The king, who had once wisely judged between two mothers claiming the same child, now found himself beholden to the foreign deities worshipped by his many spouses. As Solomon's devotion to Yahweh waned, he began to actively promote the worship of other gods, even going so far as to build shrines and high places for them on the outskirts of Jerusalem. This betrayal of the covenant struck at the very heart of Israel's identity and faith, sowing the seeds of discontent among the people. Moreover, Solomon's quest for wealth and prestige led him to impose heavy taxes and conscription upon his subjects. The kingdom's vast riches flowed into the royal coffers, but the people groaned under the burden of supporting Solomon's lavish lifestyle and building projects. Resentment began to simmer, especially among the northern tribes, who felt exploited by the southern-dominated monarchy. The first signs of trouble emerged during Solomon's own lifetime. In the north, a young Ephraimite named Jeroboam began to agitate against the king's policies. Jeroboam, a talented administrator whom Solomon had put in charge of the forced labor of the house of Joseph, incited a rebellion that was only narrowly suppressed. The prophet Ahijah foretold that Jeroboam would one day become king over 10 of the 12 tribes of Israel, a prediction that would soon come to pass. Elsewhere, Solomon faced challenges from foreign powers. The Edomites, who had long been vassals of Israel, threw off the yoke of Solomon's control, while the Aramean kingdom of Damascus also began to assert its independence. These developments hinted at the unraveling of the once mighty Solomonic Empire. As Solomon grew older, his grip on power began to slip. The king's foreign wives continued to draw him deeper into the worship of foreign deities, and his subjects grew increasingly resentful of the burdens placed upon them. Jeroboam's rebellion in the north simmered, ready to erupt at any moment. Then, in the final years of his life, Solomon faced a devastating personal tragedy. The Bible recounts how his beloved first wife, the daughter of Pharaoh, died, plunging the aging king into profound grief. This loss, combined with the mounting political and religious turmoil in his kingdom, seems to have taken a heavy toll on Solomon's spirit and judgment. It was at this moment of personal and political vulnerability that the prophet Ahijah's dire prophecy came to pass. As Jeroboam fled into exile, the prophet told him that God would one day tear the kingdom from Solomon's son and give 10 tribes to Jeroboam, leaving only 2, Judah and Benjamin, in the hands of the Davidic dynasty. This prophecy of a divided kingdom struck at the heart of Solomon's legacy. The united monarchy he had inherited and ruled over with such skill and power was now destined to be torn asunder, a victim of his own failings and the judgment of God. In his final years, a shaken and embittered Solomon is said to have composed the Book of Ecclesiastes, a somber meditation on the fleeting nature of earthly pleasures and the ultimate futility of human endeavor. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity, the aging king laments, a testament to the hollowness he had discovered at the heart of his own accomplishments. As Solomon's reign drew to a close, the kingdom he had built began to crumble. Jeroboam returned from exile and led a successful revolt in the north, establishing the separate kingdom of Israel. The once mighty empire was now divided, with the southern kingdom of Judah under the rule of Solomon's son, Rehoboam. This division was but the beginning of Israel's decline. In the years that followed, the two kingdoms would engage in intermittent warfare, further weakening the Israelite people. The northern kingdom of Israel would ultimately fall to the Assyrian Empire, while the southern kingdom of Judah would endure until its conquest by the Babylonians. The legacy of King Solomon, once so bright and celebrated, had become a tragic tale of hubris, excess, and the consequences of straying from the path of righteousness. The wisest man in the Bible, renowned for his ability to judge fairly and rule justly, had allowed his heart to be turned away from the God who had blessed him with such remarkable gifts. In the end, Solomon's reign serves as a cautionary tale, a reminder that even the greatest of leaders are susceptible to the corrupting influence of power and wealth. The once mighty kingdom he had inherited and expanded now lay in ruins, a victim of his own failings and the judgment of the divine. As the curtain falls on Solomon's life, we are left to ponder the deeper lessons of his story. What price does one pay for the pursuit of earthly pleasures and the accumulation of material wealth? How can even the wisest of leaders succumb to the temptations of the flesh and the lure of foreign gods? And what does it mean to truly walk in the ways of the Lord, even in the face of power and privilege? The tale of King Solomon's downfall is a sobering one, a reminder that even the most exalted among us are not immune to the flaws and failings that plague the human condition. It is a story that has echoed through the ages, a cautionary tale that continues to resonate with believers and non-believers alike. As we reflect on the life and legacy of this once mighty king, we are confronted with the fragility of earthly power and the importance of maintaining a steadfast devotion to the divine. The last days of Solomon's reign serve as a stark reminder that true wisdom and righteousness must be the foundation upon which all great leaders and kingdoms are built. In the end, the story of King Solomon's bitter end is not just a tale of the fall of a single man, but a reflection on the broader human experience, the temptations we all face, the choices we must make, and the consequences that can ripple through the ages. It is a story that invites us to consider our own paths, to strive for a deeper understanding of the divine, and to guard against the corrupting influence of power and wealth. For in the life and legacy of King Solomon, we see the triumphs and tragedies that can unfold when the wisest of men lose their way. It is a cautionary tale that challenges us to walk the line between earthly ambition and spiritual fulfillment, to balance the pursuit of worldly success with a steadfast commitment to the higher calling of righteousness and justice. The last days of King Solomon may have been marked by bitterness and decline, but the lessons of his story continue to resonate with us today. As we grapple with the complexities of power, faith, and the human condition, we would do well to heed the cautionary tale of the once mighty king whose wisdom and wealth ultimately proved to be his undoing.